Admiral Tark of the Galactic Confederation stood before the holographic display. His four eyes narrowed at the small blue-green planet that rotated slowly before him. Earth. A Class 13 Deathworld. The only inhabited one in the known galaxy. You mean to tell me, he said, mandibles clicking in disbelief, that they don't even know? Lieutenant Voss, his communications officer, fluttered her wing membranes nervously. No, Admiral, they believe they're alone in the universe. They have no idea their world is classified as a biological nightmare. The Confederation had cataloged millions of planets across thousands of galaxies. Their classification system was precise. Class 1 worlds were paradise planets with ideal conditions for life. Class 13 worlds were hellish death traps that no sentient species would ever evolve on, theoretically. Yet here was Earth defying all probability. What makes it Class 13 again? Asked Tark, though he knew the answer. He simply couldn't believe it. Everything, sir, replied Voss, pulling up the data. Extreme temperature variations from polar ice to scorching deserts. Atmospheric oxygen, levels that would be toxic to most species. Violent weather patterns. Tectonic instability. Millions of venomous and predatory species. Microscopic organisms that can kill within days. And gravity that would crush most sentient beings. Tark shook his head. And yet they thrive. More than thrive, sir. They've achieved space travel despite having bones made of calcium phosphate that should shatter under their own planetary gravity. The Confederation had discovered Earth 50 years ago and had been observing humanity in secret ever since. What they found both terrified and fascinated them. Show me the physical adaptation analysis again, ordered Tark. Voss brought up another hologram. Humans can survive in environments from -50 to +50 degrees Celsius with minimal protection. They can go without water for days. Their immune systems battle millions of pathogens simultaneously. They can lose limbs and survive. They can ingest substances that would kill most species and metabolize them for pleasure. And their psychological profile? Even more concerning, sir. They seek out danger for entertainment. They deliberately expose themselves to physical stress, to grow stronger. They've created artificial poisons they call spices to make their food more exciting. Their entertainment often involves simulating dangerous scenarios. Tark had made his decision. Tomorrow, the Confederation Council would vote on whether to establish first contact with humanity or quarantine the Sol system permanently. He needed to finalize his recommendation. Lieutenant, bring in the human specialist. Moments later, Dr. Rel entered, a researcher who had dedicated his life to studying Earth and its inhabitants. Unlike most Confederation species, Rel's people shared some distant evolutionary similarities with humans, making him uniquely qualified for his role. You've reviewed the first contact risk assessment? Tark asked. I have, Admiral. Rel nodded. And with respect, it's fundamentally flawed. Tark's secondary eyelids blinked in surprise. Explain. The assessment assumes humans would react as any other species would, with fear, aggression, or submission. But humans don't fit our psychological models. What do you mean? Rel pulled up his own data set. Take this human concept called friendship. Humans form deep bonds with completely unrelated individuals, even those from different cultures and backgrounds. They've even domesticated predator species to live in their homes as companions. And this matters because, Admiral, humans don't just conquer or destroy. They connect, they adapt, they integrate. The assessment predicts they would try to dominate us or cower from our technology. But historical evidence suggests they're equally likely to invite us to what they call a barbecue and ask about our families. Tark considered this. But they're so violent. Their history is violent, yes, Rel agreed, but not just toward others, toward themselves. They fight their own nature constantly. They create laws against their impulses. They form global organizations to prevent warfare. They recognize their capacity for destruction and actively work against it. Your recommendation, then? First contact, Admiral, but carefully managed. Not because they're dangerous, though they certainly can be, but because they're unpredictable in ways our models can't account for. Tark turned back to The hologram of Earth. A storm system swirled across its northern hemisphere, lighting flashing visibly even from this distance. On a world that any sensible species would have abandoned eons ago, humans wrote poetry about their thunderstorms. Do you know what fascinates me most about them, Dr. Rell? What, sir? They're so fragile individually, a simple cut can kill them, if the wrong microorganism gets in. Their lifespans are less than 2 centuries, their young are helpless for years. And yet they've survived every extinction-level event their planet has thrown at them, Rell finished. They adapt faster culturally than most species do evolutionarily. Tark made his decision. We'll recommend first contact, but with a warning designation. Sir? Not for our protection, Doctor. For the rest of the galaxies. Tark's mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among his kind. After all, humans evolved on a world that should have killed them 1,000,000 times over. And instead of dying, they thrived. Instead of fearing their world, they love it. What does that tell you about their potential once they leave it? Rell's expression grew serious. It tells me that a species that conquered a Class 13 Deathworld without even realizing it might just be the most formidable ally, or enemy, the Confederation has ever encountered. Precisely, said Tark, his gaze fixed on the small blue world. Precisely. The next day, the Confederation Council voted unanimously to initiate first contact procedures with Earth. The coded designation attached to the mission made some members uncomfortable, but Admiral Tark insisted upon it. Classification: species of extreme resilience and adaptability. Origin: Class 13 Deathworld. Approach with caution and respect, and perhaps just a touch of awe.